go ahead and start kicking it off. I believe we'll have several people join us as we continue on today, but I'm super excited to be able to introduce everyone to our guest presenter today. He's a good friend of ours here at BoodleBox. His name is Steve Austin. He's joining us from Texas International Bible Institute, or TIBI, and will be joining us to really share his entire journey around how he implemented AI at TIBI, how his faculty came to adopt and understand it, and how they're able to now share it with their students as well. He's done a really awesome job at sharing BoodleBox across his institution in a way that multiple people can understand at different levels, regardless of, their understanding of BoodleBox and AI in the beginning. So without further ado, I'll go ahead and hand it on off to Steve. He is amazing, and you'll really love to hear all of what he has to share today.
Thank you, Meredith. Very kind. I appreciate the opportunity to share today with everyone. And thank you to BoodleBox for the chance to do this, and also just the wonderful equipping and attention y'all have given to me and also to TIBI as we've gone on this journey. As I move through the presentation, I want you to feel free to put comments or questions in the chat, and I'll try to keep up with those as much as I can as I'm presenting. And then I understand we're supposed to have some time at the end also for other Q&A. So feel free to do that. Look forward to hearing what you have to say. I guarantee you that I'm not the only expert in here, and I don't even feel like an expert a lot of days. We're all learning a lot about AI as it expands so rapidly. And so I am excited to share with you some of our journey. Obviously, in an hour, we can't say everything, every detail. And obviously at TIBI, we have other ways that we want to implement AI. I'm going to focus today in particular on what is our core mission of teaching students. And so I want to show you how we've gotten into BoodleBox, how we've tried to equip our faculty to prepare to teach the courses, and then help the students as they come on into BoodleBox and as they use it and incorporate it not only with us, but also just in their lives as well. So I look forward to this. And I know that we all have had different journeys to be here, but back in January really was the first time that I paid a lot of attention in a structured way to AI. Before that, it was just about nothing. I knew a little bit about ChatGPT and decided to start learning about it. And about that time, I heard about BoodleBox, and a friend of ours from Lipscomb University, Sarah Gibson, gave us a link for a free month. And my wife and I really jumped into that big time and just have enjoyed learning, and went from there to other sources and books and videos and people. But BoodleBox has kind of been the core of how we've learned about AI. And then, of course, we decided, hey, we've got to have this for our institute, Texas International Bible Institute. And so I want to share a little bit about that. As I was getting into AI, so let me go ahead and share my presentation with you here. Perhaps some of you had the same feeling as I did as you began to learn about AI, just how much information there is out there, how much there is to learn, what's the best, what are the terms, what are the processes? I mean, where do you start? And so it reminded me of the time that my wife and I took our kids to Disney World a number of years ago. And I remember as we prepared for that, we thought, man, there's all these parks. And then, you get there that day and you walk in the front gate and you see the rides and you see the restaurants and you see the buildings and hundreds of people and the mascots and all the walkways and just everything there is. It's an overload. And I remember that day, and as we were preparing, thinking, man, how are we going to do everything we want to do? We don't even know what there is to do, much less how to fit it in. And so my wife found an app called RideMax. I don't know if you've seen that or not, but basically you take the app, you tell the app everything you'd like to do that day, what rides you want, where you want to eat, just all that stuff. And then RideMax looks at it all and comes back with a schedule for your day. And it'll say, okay, go in at 9 o'clock and go straight and buy a fast pass, and then go to the back of the park and ride this ride, and then go over here and get in line for the other. And it just kind of walked you through, like in 5 or 6 minute segments, the whole day. And we actually rode about like 15 rides and ate a couple of times and saw some shows all in one day. And I thought it was great to have RideMax to navigate Disney World for us. And as I got into AI, I began to feel like, hey, BoodleBox is RideMax for AI because it helped me structure my learning and it helped me understand how things worked in AI. And so it's really helpful. Then I got to just to go along with it and play. And so I want to share the key ideas for today. I'm going to talk a little bit about what we've tried to set up as far as the environment for AI at TIBI. I want to talk about the whole idea of creating a course and then teaching through a course and then assessing the results of the teaching. That whole process, that's really the core of what I want to talk about today and what's important to us right now at TIBI. And then I want to share some other resources that have been very useful to us as we go along, and then end up just kind of with some final thoughts as well. So jumping right in, I wanted to share what some of our key suggestions are for going from basically zero in AI to however fast, whatever we're going to do in AI. And the first thing that I've enjoyed is just to play with it. And that sounds a little bit odd, but what I mean by that is, get a bot, get a model, ask a silly question, ask some sort of research, just whatever you want, and just see what happens. And so we did that with a number of different topics. We saw what worked and what didn't work. We saw how to, do prompts and all that. We just played with it. And as we played with it, it's kind of like, it reminded me of the times we'd have people over to play board games. And we'd get a new game out and somebody that had played it would say, okay, here are the rules. And they'd spend about 5 minutes explaining all the detailed rules and people would get more and more confused. And finally, they just say, let's just play a game. And then, we'll understand better how to play the game. And so we would do that. And AI feels a lot like that way. You can use one bot and say, okay, that's how that bot worked. That's how probably 50 other bots work, the same kinds of processes. And, you look at one model like ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini, and you say, okay, I understand that. Then you start to compare and see who does what best. And you learn as you go. And we found that really, if you learn one thing in AI, it opens up like 50 others. And if you learn, this process, it opens up a whole other area, right? And so that's been helpful to us just to play with it as we learned. And then we wanted to pay attention, especially to different processes with AI. For example, how to craft a prompt. I knew pretty much nothing about this. And I remember Sarah Gibson, one of our people who worked with us, she said, if you get a bad answer, it's probably because you gave a bad question, right? Bad prompt. And the better you can make your prompts, then the better results you'll get. And so we worked on that. We worked on iterating, the process of iterating, kind of tracking an idea through and expanding and deepening an idea. Those processes we feel like were really important. And then principles that, how you work. BoodleBox, one of the things I appreciate most about it is the collaboration. It's not just that the interface is set up to collaborate, it's that the people also, like Meredith, like France, are set up to collaborate. They're ready to listen to you and give you information, open doors for you. I mean, the first time I got on BoodleBox, really without knowing anything or anybody, I asked for an interview with France and got it immediately. And he was just really helpful in helping us move forward. And so the processes of collaboration, how to involve other people, how to involve teachers and students, again, process and principles are important. Then from there, we wanted to let AI do what it does best. And y'all have heard this before, I'm sure as well. But things like brainstorming and being creative and organizing, summarizing. If AI can save me 2 hours on that, then I can spend those 2 hours doing something I like better and that I can do better than AI. It gives me more time to spend with people, to follow up with teachers, to follow up with students. And so I want AI to free me to do the things that I need and want to do. Also, I want to encourage you, just like we've tried to encourage our teachers and students, that you need to recognize any kind of progress as positive. Really, anything you do with AI is progress. I know that some people have felt guilt because they haven't learned as much as they feel like they need to, or pressure to do more, or to use it for more things. And we've just told our teachers and students, hey, we want it to be interesting. We want it to be fun. We want it to be productive. And if you start small and you begin to use it for one assignment or one project or one question, one activity, then you've made progress and you will grow quickly with that, and it'll be fun, right? Instead of feeling pressure the whole time. We also want to partner with our students because we know that the general dynamic over the last couple of years that people have talked more about AI is that they're worried about students cheating, first of all, and then they're worried about competing with students. And the reality is that a lot of students know more than teachers right now. And so I don't want to be in a situation with my faculty or my students where I'm trying to prohibit them to use AI and I'm trying to catch them using AI and trying to punish them in some way or be suspicious of them. That's just not the environment or the atmosphere we want to create at TIBI. We want to say, hey, AI is really cool. There's a whole lot to learn about AI. We're learning some. We want you to use it too. In fact, why don't we learn together on it? And you tell us what you learned that works for you, and we'll share things that have worked for us, and we'll do this together, right? A sense of collaboration and being colleagues, even though, teacher, student, there's still a sense that we're all learning together on it and not competing. And I found that in general, both for faculty and especially for students, if you set that atmosphere of, hey, well, let's work together. Why don't you teach me as well? The students respond really well to that. And then they don't really want to cheat. They don't need to cheat because I'm saying, yeah, let's use it. Let's go ahead. And I'm saying, how are you using it? Not, whether you should or not, or did you cheat, right? To me, that's a big key in setting the right environment in which everything else with AI can take place. And then finally, we have the idea of providing training because we found that, with us at first and also with most people, that the reason they haven't used AI is because it seems so huge that they don't know where to start. And so we want to provide the kind of orientation like we're doing right now, just saying start small, learn a little bit, have fun, learn some, and then we can go from there. And so we've provided over this year 4 different seminars with our faculty. First of all, what AI is, and then a seminar each about creating and teaching and assessing. And then we've done some one-on-ones with faculty just to say, hey, how's it going? How are you using AI in your preparation? What have you learned that works well for you? What bots, what models, what kinds of assignments? And then just last week, when our students came in for student orientation, we provided for the first time for students an orientation to BoodleBox and said, hey, here's something really new. We're going to have this fall. And so we want to show you kind of what it is and how it works. And this is one of the top suites of AI tools in the marketplace right now. It really is, top of the line, cutting edge stuff. And we want you to use this. And so we've provided some training for our students as well. And we'll continue to do that as we go through the year, go through courses, as professors use it and students use it. There hopefully will be a continual learning thing back and forth. So the 3 steps I've mentioned already, let's jump right in to creating a course. So as you've seen, if you've been on BoodleBox at all, you've seen there's maybe 25 or 30 different like AI models of different versions, and then there's over 900 bots. And so that's pretty intimidating. And so early on, when I was on BoodleBox, I just kind of went through all the bots and tried to see which ones might be useful to me personally or to TIBI as a school, and just kind of created a list. Out of those 900, I pulled out maybe 40 that we could use in different aspects of TIBI, and I'll share that list with you later if you want. The first thing that we would do with the course, obviously, is to create the syllabus, the plan of study. And so since this is a Bible Institute, I have a course that I teach called Life of Jesus. And so I took the most recent syllabus and I uploaded that to BoodleBox, to EduBot course syllabus. And there's other syllabus bots, but this is one of them. And I said, okay, what are the strengths and weaknesses of the current syllabus? And so it responded, gave me some good ideas there. And I said, why don't you redesign that one just a little bit to see, how you can improve it? And so it did. And there was not really a whole lot of changes. It was, fairly similar. And so I said, okay, well, forget that. Forget, everything I've uploaded. How would you teach the life of Jesus in 32 weeks if you could meet for 72 hours in all? Say like, twice a week, 4 hours total in a week, 2 hours at a time. How would you teach the life of Christ? And so I put that in, and then EduBot course syllabus gave me back like a 5-page syllabus with these sections here. The learning objectives, there's probably 8 or 9 of those. There were a list of required materials and also additional sources, not only books, but also digital. And what was cool about this is I looked at the sources they were recommending, and they were all like, up-to-date, modern, top of the line sources. They weren't like 100 years old and kind of weak, or not very well known. They were like top of the line resources. And so it was looking at the most recent data and resources in this field. And then it gave the course methodology for how we would break down the course and what the modules would be. There are like 8 different modules, usually 2 weeks to a module. And it would give the assignments, usually due every week at the end of the week. In the 16 weeks, there were like 12 different assignments the students needed to turn in, plus 3 tests. And so, 15 assignments in 16 weeks, that's quite a chunk. And then as you went through the syllabus, then it would detail out all the different kinds of assignments that there were, and how to do some of those as well. And then it would give the final class schedule for the teaching blocks that you might use. Okay, so that's kind of an overall beginning. This is just, one slide, but that was 5 pages. And that was pretty amazing to me that, I could, see that in maybe 30 seconds. It would develop all that. And I could use all of that and say, okay, I like this, I don't like that, and keep whatever felt useful to me. Then as we looked at the syllabus, and I looked at those 12 assignments, some were ones I had done before or something similar, and others were ones that I didn't really think about. There's always new ideas. And so there was one they said, give a conceptual map of the historical context of Israel. And so to me, as I'm looking at that, I kind of know what I think, but I wanted to see what AI meant by that. So I said, I don't understand this assignment. Can you amplify and explain this assignment? What's involved and what's required? How would a student go about doing this assignment? And EduBot class assignment, that different bot, gave me 3 pages explanation on one assignment. And again, it would give the objectives. It would describe more exactly what the assignment was. It would give the requirements, not only like the format, but also even down to sections of content, these 5 different things under content. Then it would make suggestions for how to organize the assignment, how to use AI in the middle of it, and how to report the use of AI. And then it would even end up with different materials to start with, as well as a timeline. Okay, if it's due the 3rd week of class, here's what you should have done by week 1, week 2, week 3. And so it was pretty impressive, the level of detail that it had. But it also seemed like the kind of thing that if a student were to come to me and say, Dr. Austin, I don't understand this assignment, I could say, okay, let's sit down together with BoodleBox and let's take this bot and we'll upload this assignment and it will help explain it to you. In other words, a lot of the students, I don't know about you who are teachers, but a lot of the students that are in class, sometimes they're really reticent to come find the teacher and say, I don't understand it. they'd rather almost flunk the assignment than admit they don't understand it. And so if we can just find out, we can say to the students, hey, if you don't understand this assignment, then, here's a way you can maybe amplify it and understand it better. So I appreciated that. And again, that was just one assignment amplified. If I had done all 12, I would have had like 30 pages or so of explanation about assignments. So again, the detail is great. You might keep 2 pages out of 30, but you have it to draw from. And again, that's just one bot out of the class assignments. There's more bots about assignments. There's more bots about syllabi as well. Okay, so we've created the course, and now we're going on to teaching. We're getting ready to start the course. So day by day, week by week, we're working through the material. And so I just asked a general question to PromptBot. I said, so taking the syllabus that you suggested, taking week 2, which is about the cultural context of Jesus' ministry, then how would you teach that material that you suggested? How would you break it down? What kind of research would you do, etc., just to see what it said. And basically it came back and said, you need to prepare all your materials first. We'll look at that in a second. And then here's some teaching blocks and formats for you to look at. Okay, so I began to work through that. And on preparing materials, the first step was to do any of the research to find out if there's anything that I was missing from my prep already, and then to add to that. And so here with Research and Organize, you can basically use anything you want. But I put down these different models that are pretty good at research and academic topics. And also, especially like Perplexity, it's good on giving sources for where it found things. Because early on, when I was asking questions of AI about my fields of Bible or languages or whatever, I would say, okay, that's interesting. Give me your sources for that. And AI would say, oh, well, I don't have sources in that way. That's not how I work. We just work from this enormous set of data. And I said, you can't give me any sources at all, right? And I wanted to kind of just tease it and kind of bait it just a little bit. I said, I think you're just being lazy, right? And they said, oh, no, we're not being lazy. And so, it gave back. And so I found out that if instead of saying, give me your sources you used, if I said, where can I learn more about this? Then it gave me 20 sources. And it was some of the very same sources. But Perplexity is good, and other ones as well, because it will research it on the net, and it will be more up to date than some models who have knowledge cutoff points. Like, some models are only, kind of brought up to date until like October of 23 or June of 24. And anything past that's new, they can't access, right? Perplexity goes online and gets the new stuff too. And then it says, here's where I found it. And we'll show you a little bit more of that in a minute. So any of these models or any of the bots, depending on what the topic is, you can tailor it and do the research, okay? So for example, PromptBot and Claude and ChatGPT and all these came back with these ideas about what to research and things to do. Like, for example, summaries about religious groups. And those are some of the ones mentioned there. Making comparisons between different groups of the time of Jesus. Creating visual resources like with DALL-E. That's a popular one, or other ones, FluxBot, Stable Diffusion, Imagen 3. There's ones that have been useful. It said, why don't you try to create images of reconstructions of cities like Jerusalem, for example. So I tried to do that, and I tried to do the travel routes and the maps. And I want to tell you that it's not very impressive with maps, right? The maps, I said, give me a map of Palestine in the time of Jesus. And it came up with a map that looked like Lord of the Rings and the Shire and Mordor, more of that kind. And so I said, where can I get, better maps on that? And so it would direct me then to some actual maps online, which is good. It also said you could design infographics about the temple and daily life, for example, different blocks of information. You can use interactive material, case studies, quizzes, make a short skit or something that the students could do. And then one idea that I kind of liked was simulations of conversations with people. And so you can upload, for example, information about Peter the Apostle, or say, look at the Gospels and Acts to see what Peter did and said. And then I want you to be Peter, and our class is going to ask you questions. And so I did that just for fun to see what Peter would say back, right? And actually, he said some things that I hadn't really thought about very much, or some things that I thought, yeah, I've always wondered if Peter thought that. But it was interesting because it was actually pretty detailed and very thoughtful. I was impressed with how thoughtful it was, which I didn't expect. And so, again, this slide here has a lot of information on it. It's got a number of bots and models, and this is just the tiniest bit of what's available. The thing that keeps coming back to me with AI is there is so much out there that basically you need to decide, okay, this model works well for this bot works well for this. For a while, it's kind of like I'm going to find about 5 models that I use for different things, and maybe about 20 bots generally in what I do. And then I'll use those. And I know I can always get other ones, but I can't learn 1,000 bots. We can't learn 100 bots, but I can learn and kind of use different tools, different bots and models. I can learn, 20 to 25 to use in different ways, like a carpenter uses maybe that many different tools depending on the job. And so part of what the learning curve has been is to find the models and the bots that work best for what I do and share those with our faculty and students. And everybody's field is going to be different in that. Okay. Yeah, just briefly, I haven't been keeping up a whole lot with the chat. Let me kind of double check here. Earl asked about using Dolly creates no incremental cost. If it's within BoodleBox, I think not, right, Meredith?
Correct.
Okay, right.
I've gone through and answered most of these, so.
Okay, good.
For
exactly. Yeah, thank you. Appreciate that. Okay, I'll come back and check on that later on. And Meredith, if I've missed anything, let me know as we're getting toward the end. So yeah, it's a great deal. And that's the thing about BoodleBox. I mean, besides the fact that if you tried to buy all these subscriptions separately, it'd cost you $100 a month, hundreds of dollars a month. It's a cheap price for BoodleBox, but it's all integrated, right? And BoodleBox, since January, since I came on, they've added a bunch of stuff, right? I mean, it hasn't sat still. They've moved ahead and added some of the more recent models and added different bots and training. It's been amazing how BoodleBox can keep up. Okay, so I finished researching and preparing the course for that week. I've done week 2 research. So now what does it look like to step into the classroom? How am I going to take all this information and organize it in 2-hour blocks? Okay, so here's what they suggested from, again, ChatGPT or other bots that we want. So they said, okay, Monday you'll talk about religious groups in the temple, and here's your first hour broken down like this, right? And see, if you notice, it has different kinds of formats and resources that it's using in the first hour. So in the first hour, you might have a group activity, you might have a little bit of lecture, you might have a poll, you might have interaction on a Zoom chat, for example, and that's just the first hour, okay? Then you go to the second hour, talk about the temple, and you show a 3D reconstruction, you talk about the construction and theological meaning of the temple, you have some passages you talk about dealing with the temple, and then it has kind of a closing and summary section I didn't put in. So that's your first 2-hour block of week 2, and you've talked about, 2 major things there. Then you go to Thursday, which is the second day of the week you're going to be in class. So it's okay, today you're going to talk about geography in daily life. So the first half is geography. So you'll have some maps, you'll have the regions, you'll have, all kinds of things, collaboration, student groups, etc. And then the second hour, you're going to have more AI of daily living there, and how you might even reconstruct, again, a city that is, while it's not maybe 100% accurate, it's very similar to what they might learn about, time of Jesus and what he's doing. So again, you've had 2 slides, and you've had your week laid out for you, teaching-wise, in several different kinds of blocks and formats. And I want to go back and say again, you don't have to keep any of this if you don't like it. If you don't like any of this, you can say, okay, try again. Let's do different activities. let's do the percentages of time differently. Let's focus on this one topic. Let's talk about individual assignments. Let's go for videos. I mean, you can do anything you want, but this was just, straight out of the box, a lot of good ideas organized well in time blocks and formats. Okay, so now we've created the course and the assignments. Now we've researched the course. We proposed the teaching blocks. We've taught through the course. So now we want to see if the students got it. Okay, so one way that you can do is to use something, again, like Perplexity that does well at handling large chunks of knowledge. Claude is also good for this. Have Perplexity review the class materials that you've given, whether it's books, whether it's PowerPoints, PDFs, videos. You can put in occasionally, I think, can you put in websites as well in Perplexity?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay, that's what I thought. And so you can say, analyze all these materials, summarize the main teachings that we've gotten out of this in this block for this week, okay? And then you can also ask Perplexity to suggest sources or show the sources that it got. Semantic Scholar, I think, looks at 214 million different journals or articles of different kinds, and is also good for suggesting sources from those that seem most relevant. Okay, so what I had them do, I had Perplexity review a section on rabbinic teaching, how the rabbis would teach in the time of Jesus. And just one small part of what it summarized was this, right? It talked about the overall method called Pardis, and then it broke it down, right, into 4 parts. Here's the 4 parts of that method. And it gave, really good summary. This is really compact information about what had been covered in the sources in class. What I want you to notice here also, see these numbers? You have the 1, 2, 3, 5 here, or 1, 3, 5. These are numbers referring to sources. And so if I clicked on these right now, then it would open up in the browser that article or source on the internet where Perplexity had found that. And so often, it'll give you maybe 5% of what it said on the article. You can go and see if you liked anything else out of that article. And so you can always verify the sources that it used and compare to see if it actually is giving you true information. So that's one way of reviewing material, and that's just one small section of the material that was available for part of this teaching block. Okay. Now, another way to review, you can change and go to a Rollbox, a learning tutor, and you can use this for any material, right? We used it for Bible here, but any material. And so you say, okay, I'm going to upload all my class PowerPoints, and I want the tutor to go through and coach my students on the material in the PowerPoints, okay? So, for example, one block of teaching in the PowerPoints was on how the Jews used these methods of Pardis to teach. And so it summarizes there in about maybe 9 or 10 lines some PowerPoints, maybe 30 or 40 slides of PowerPoints. And then it summarized the contrast between Eastern and Western thinking as we see in the Bible or in our own culture. And so again, just 5 lines here, but a pretty good summary of some of the key points of that, okay? So you had Perplexity, you had Semantic Scholar working with summaries and sources, and then you have Rollbot coaching students through some of the class material and PDFs, okay? So once they've reviewed, then you say, okay, let's see how they really did. So you can get EduBot quiz, and there's other quiz bots too, and you can say, okay, so what did you learn? And so I ask it to generate a quiz based on the material that I'd just given them about the culture and about the teaching methods. And it was interesting to me that I asked it for a 10-question quiz, and it gave me the first 5 out of 6 questions were different formats, right? And again, you can pick any one of these formats and use them exclusively, but they were pretty good questions, pretty concise and clear, and the different formats, which is good for different learning styles. So there's that, so they can take that, and then here's the answers, and they can grade it as well. Okay, so we've gone through different kinds of reviewing and grading and quizzing, all right? Then one more kind that I thought I wanted to mention was when you have a longer assignment like an essay, not the same thing as an automatic grading thing like a true, false or anything. You can ask different bots to analyze the work for different patterns or tendencies or errors. And so these bots here, fact check, bias check, right bot, etc., spelling, grammar, punctuation, 7 different kinds of ways to analyze an essay to see what's happening with the student. And you can say, what's the student need to work on? How can this student improve? And it will give suggestions for all of that. And you can even sit down with the student and the bot and say, okay, I uploaded your essay into this, and I asked this bot to look at your essay, and here's what the bot told me. Do you think that's fair? Do you think that's right? Is it accurate? What else would you say to that, right? And so it can become a dialogue instead of like, you got to be, right? You can actually have the student interact with you and with what the bot has suggested, right? So that's several facets of the feedback or the assessing part. So to kind of wrap it up, I wanted to finish up in just several more minutes here. As I've been working through AI for the last 8 months or so, I found these sources that might be useful. And so what I want to do is to kind of load these into the chat, if that's okay, Meredith. Can I do that? Will it let me? Okay, good. I know I can on my Zoom. I just want to make sure I could on yours.
Should be able to.
Good. Okay. So for example, I did a comparison of the AI suites of tools. Okay, it's saying there's restrictions by admin. Yeah. Let me try a different one. Let's see here. Yeah, it says unable to send because of restrictions. If you want, I can send you these or not, but let me tell you briefly what it was. What's that?
We can share it in the follow-up email.
Okay, good. We'll do that. So anyway, I just, again, I wanted to see how BoodleBox compared to other suites, and it came out top of the line, really 1 or 2 in most of the major comparisons, like with Microsoft and OpenAI and Anthropic and everything came out pretty amazing. I made a list of the bots that I thought were useful for TIBI, just to kind of give you an idea how you might sort through the bots. I looked at a pedagogy project that Harvard put out. I think this is one of the sources BoodleBox has on its site. I think that's where I found it. And then also AI policies at different schools, just to see how we could compare our policies. A whole document on prompts ideas of different kinds. I think I got this from Jose Bowen. And then daily AI summaries or emails. I gave a list of maybe 6 or 7 different of the most recommended emails or summaries of what's new in AI each day. And so I've signed up for like 2 or 3 of those, and I get those every morning. And again, a lot of days it's just overload. It's like, there's 10 new things in that, and there's 10 new things in the next one, and that's just today, right? So again, the importance of trying to sort through and really boil down what can be useful. I can always add things later, but what I need is to see what are the 5 models or the 6 bots that are most useful to what I do day by day, and use those and then grow and learn as I go. And then before we knew that we were going to be able to do BoodleBox for our students, we said, okay, what if the teachers have BoodleBox, but the students don't? What are some other free AI options that they can use? And so we pulled that together and gave that list out just so the students could have some options, especially in Latin America where our students are. We wanted them to be able to, have access to free tools that were there as well. Okay. Also I read Jose Bowen's book, Teaching with AI. Here's his website right here. A lot of great resources there. He's amazing. Okay. And then courses. I took a course on generative AI, again, by one of the leaders from Coursera, and there's just tons of courses as well. And so I want to finish with a quote by Jose Bowen, and then I'll try to come back and circle back to some questions like this one by Melissa here. But Jose Bowen said in his book, the way to get better at everything is to get better at something. And I thought that was really useful because we don't have time, we don't have the bandwidth to get better at 50 things or to learn 100 bots or whatever. But we can get better at one every day, right? We can do something small every day, learn one thing, play with one bot, try one question, and we'll get better. And it's amazing how much you can learn in just a short time. In just 8 months, I feel like I've been able to learn and enjoy and benefit from this greatly. And now our faculty and our students will be able to benefit as well. Okay, so let me kind of go back here. Concerned about using AI for grading. That's totally one of the questions about faculty members that they always have that question. Not only are students going to cheat, but also if I use something like ChatGPT 0 or Turnitin's got a version of it as well, you know, will that be accurate? And the research says that, you know, too often it identifies something as cheating when it really may not be cheating. The student may have used it in a different way, but it wasn't cheating. It was kind of according to the guidelines. And I've tried to run several assignments through just to see of like students that I thought might be more prone to cheat or others that would never cheat. And it would kind of give me a mix of, yeah, that was definitely AI generated, 100%. And so one of the articles that I read about grading with or checking for use of AI and cheating, the article said you really got to be careful, you know, about grading with AI and also checking for cheating with AI because it's different. And then grading itself with AI, I tried that as well. I put in some projects that I asked, you know, about 15-page projects. I did about 10 of them just to see how AI would grade compared to how I graded. And I gave it a rubric and everything. And in general, AI was a little bit harder on it than I might have been, right? It got a lot of the same things I might have said, but not exactly. And so I ended up going back and grading it all myself. And I'm going to keep working on that one because I think we can make the rubrics better and more specific and come out pretty close to what we would have done as compared to what AI would have done. But I think that no matter what, I really like your question, Melissa. No matter what, I would sit down with the students before I even started grading assignments from my class. And so, okay, here's the deal. I'm going to use AI and here's how I'm going to use it. And after I grade it, then I want you to look at it and see what you think. You know, do you think that's fair or not? And I found that when you include students and you expect an honest answer, they'll work with you. You know, they usually will be pretty honest with you and they'll be more open about it. I think when I get defensive about it, the students tend to get more defensive or accusative. And so it's an important thing. Thanks. Good question. Let's see here. What else?
Steve, I think we have a question around trying to understand what this looks like in the platform. I don't know if you have that to be able to share it.
Yeah, let me try to pull up here. Let's see here.
Thank you.
Going to go to the chats. Share. Okay. So this is actually our student account we just created. And so if I were going to start with this, Jennifer, do you want to know about like where you go to find this stuff or how does it look like when you ask a question? Is that what you mean?
And Jennifer, you're welcome to speak. You should have the ability to speak out loud as well.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you for looking at my message. I appreciate it.
Sure.
I just came to this, I've come to some of these sessions and yeah, I just wanted to know like about the features and because right now it really looks like ChatGPT, it looks like Claude, it looks like all the other ones. So if that's essentially, it's like a feed and you're just asking questions, then that's awesome. Thank you for sharing. If there's any other features that you think are unique, then I would love to see that too. Thank you so much for answering my question.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Jennifer. Yeah, that's a great question. A number of the bots and the models do work with like questions and answers. And then the iteration, how you kind of pursue the question in a more detailed fashion. But again, that's a lot of chat back and forth. Now, the images are a little bit different when you're working with images. then that will actually produce some content with images, and that's pretty cool. I understand that it's going to come with a mic at some point. BoodleBox is going to install a mic. Is that right, Meredith?
Yeah, I can go through some of the feature sets in general. The first session of this series covered kind of the entire fundamentals of BoodleBox. So I would definitely urge you, Jennifer, to take a look at that first session. We go through the entire inner workings of the platform and how that chat engagement really works through. But I'll just share a little bit. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Do you have a link that you can include here?
Yes, so that is all going to be included in the follow-up email to this session.
Great.
So you'll have access to the entire series that we've been running for this. So yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
And that's a great.
Creating custom bots, is that also what you're doing too? Like
Yeah,
study bots?
there was an entire session just around custom bots as well. So the first session was really all about the fundamentals of BoodleBox, your ability to work with multiple AI models in one place, in one chat, bring additional people into those conversations and give you that transparency to help that learning journey. The second session was all about bot building. So we go deep into how you can build bots. And then the third session was all about AI assignments, which is launching in a few weeks, if not next week. We're pushing towards next week, but the possibility of the next week may be occurring. But yes, those are all the three kind of features that we had prior to this session. So please, I urge you to take a look at those, because each of them were about an hour long as well.
Great, thank you so much. I'm excited to learn more.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and those are great sessions. I've been to both of those. And this right here is the models, and every one of these has multiple models. Then the Boodle bots themselves, all of these have multiple bots, some as many as like 50 or 100, like the character ones. So it's pretty amazing. And then the custom bots that you can also create as you go. So pretty cool information. So as BoodleBox continues to expand, then if and when they add the microphone, that'll speed things up a lot, and it's a really great way to interact. And then one of the things that they also mentioned in the first session was the collaboration, where we can invite students and professors into a chat inside BoodleBox, and everybody then starts to work together with multiple different bots and multiple questions. They put it all into the feed, and it's just kind of this ongoing conversation around the table, as it were. So that's pretty cool as well. But that's covered as well in the first seminar that was given. Okay, what have I missed here, Meredith, as far as questions?
We have a hand up really quick by
Okay, yeah.
Honor. Am I saying it right this time?
Thank
Yes.
you, Steve, for a great presentation. I wanted to ask if you had any advice about dabbling with other AI languages or tools. I'm ChatGPT 24/7, and then I'm a little, intimidated to try the sea of other bots. So I was wondering, just from your experience, how did you start dabbling into other things?
Yeah, that's a great question too. Thank you. I work in Spanish every day, pretty much all day. And so it's cool that you can start to type in Spanish, and it'll automatically switch to whatever language you want, right? I've also spent some time in Germany. And so I said, okay, just for kicks, I'll switch over to German, and bang, it switched, to German. So I don't know how many languages are available, but it's impressive, and they're good. Like, it's not a terrible Spanish or a terrible German. It's like literate, and it can gear the languages to, like, 6th grade level, high school level, college level, PhD level, right? So that's pretty cool. And then, since we're a Bible Institute, we teach Hebrew and Greek. And so I've used like Robot language translator or different ones that really tend to focus more on linguistics, and also, shades of meaning, resources like lexicons and different things. And so I would assume that, whatever language you went to, that you could pick the language bot and say, okay, I want to upload maybe 2 or 3 resources in this language, or several websites. There are several great websites in Spanish for translation and for grammar and for the rules and all that. So you upload those sites and say, okay, now working with these resources, how would you answer these questions in this language for this field, or whatever it would be? Does that make sense on what you're talking about?
Yes, thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay. Good, great question. Yeah, I've been amazed at being able to work in different languages. it's something. Okay, what else, Meredith?
It looks like one question also came up about learning the process from an instructor to a student. So, Michael, if you have the ability to come off mute to clarify that question a little bit, but I'm presuming that you're talking about how do you share this with the students to be able to engage and learn about AI in the course?
Yeah, for example, you were talking about the assignment that's coming out, or if you had a study bot, to answer questions while the student is while they're working on the assignment, they can ask questions. How is that shared out? Is that embedded within the learning management system, or is that invited for students to collaborate?
Yeah, great. So with the one university I'm teaching at, I'm teaching one course a semester at Lipscomb University in Nashville. And Lipscomb just went to BoodleBox. They just implemented it as a whole university, like, 4,000 people coming on. And so this fall, when I'm teaching my course there, they're going to be on their laptops or tablets or whatever. Probably not phones. I'm going to recommend they get on something a little bigger than a phone. And I'm going to say, okay, jump on BoodleBox, right? Or I'll start a chat in BoodleBox, and then I'll use the feature that's usually at the top right up here after you start a chat, and you can invite students into this particular chat. So they're all in the same chat room. And then I'll put that on the screen. I'll share my laptop onto the screen, and everybody will see what I'm looking at on the screen. And I can, indicate things on my screen and they can look at it, but they'll also be seeing the same feed within their browsers. And so, I can say, okay, Juan, can you put in, your results from the question on ChatGPT, and can you put in yours from, the language bot, and kind of see, and then it'll all be scrolling by and everybody's going to be looking at that. And so what I do as a teacher often is I'll kind of look at it and we'll kind of scroll by, then I'll stop and say, okay, let's look at that particular point. Juan, why did you say that? Or what do you like about this? What makes sense or what doesn't make sense? Or can you clarify, what you came up with on your answer? And I try to do it in a way where it's like, hey, that was really cool, so help me learn about that too. And the students really jump into it. I've found that the more you involve it, the students in it, the less they go to sleep, right? And having different formats, of an image and a map and a conversation. We even use suno.com to create a song about Jacob and Esau, when Esau, sold his birthright, and they wanted the song in country western format, right? I mean, so you could do all kinds of fun stuff with that. I don't think Suno's inside BoodleBox right now, but just that kind of thing where you have different formats inside the same chat, shared to the screen, and then you're interacting with the students. Okay, so then, Claire said this. So Claire, tell us some more about what you found out there. And it makes it really interactive, and the time goes by really fast as well. I don't know if I answered your question very well, Michael. Is that good what you wanted or not?
Yeah, very much so. Thank you.
I
Good.
could add some color to it too, just about the connections with the LMS. So if you're looking to integrate with your LMS, right now the best way to do that is by sharing links. Or if you review the last session that we had, we showed AI assignments, which is coming out in the next week. That will showcase kind of from creating your assignment all the way to deploying that assignment to your students. So even with a link for an assignment, a chat, a bot, links are the way that you're able to share that information to your students and to each other as well.
That's great.
I do see a question around, can BoodleBox shared chats be saved and then looked back at for students? Right now, any chat remains live unless it's deleted. If for any reason it were deleted, it would be removed from their experience. However, when AI assignments comes out, this will be a kind of snapshot of that assignment, and those will remain live. I want to see if there's any other questions that needed to be responded.
And while you're looking at that, the question you said, Michael, about the LMS, last session that we had, I think a couple of weeks ago, there was a person from Instructure that had come to work at BoodleBox, and they're looking at I think incorporating BoodleBox into LMSs like Canvas. Is that right, Meredith?
Yeah, so right now we have integrations with LMS for single sign-on purposes. Moving forward, after we initially launch AI assignments, probably in a future iteration, either V2 or 3, we'll have that grade passback capability. And I see your question in the chat, so that kind of aligns perfectly with this. So we'll have that grade passback capability for you to pass back anything that was generated inside a BoodleBox to your grade book for you to approve and share with your students. And ChatGPT 5, I know, is a hot topic. It will be live likely in the next couple of weeks. We do a security review of everything and make sure that all of our models are appropriate before we implement them in the platform. So it is on our docket to be released in the next 2 weeks.
Cool. Yeah. Well, is there anything else, Meredith, that you see?
I'm quickly doing a scroll. Any other questions that we may have missed? Feel free to blurt it out. This is your time.
Claudia?
Hi, thanks for this presentation. I just wanted to add that I work at a small community campus in Alaska, and we have a faculty intensive every May that kind of ends our semester. And this semester we did 2 days of planification themed pedagogy using BoodleBox. And one of the strongest things that I saw, we wanted to be able to introduce AI to our faculty in a way that was collaborative and meaningful, so they weren't doing this by themselves in like a silo. And using BoodleBox with the collaborative way that you were talking about, being able to add different people, that whole room for the 2 days that we were doing it was just booming with ideas and learning. So it was just such an awesome thing for instructional designers to see faculty enthused about learning AI and doing it with their peers. So that's just one thing I wanted to add that I thought was really a great way to use BoodleBox for faculty intensives.
Outstanding. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's amazing. Good. What else?
Anyone else like to share or have any other questions? We have about a minute left. Awesome. Well, I would like to just thank Steve for all of his input and for sharing kind of the workflows and the ways that he's gone about sharing BoodleBox internally to his community at TIBI and beyond. I'll go ahead and share a link here for everyone to be able to access BoodleBox if you haven't done so yet. It's hard to talk and type. So that's the address that you would use for everyone on this site, on this session. You also can use the code BBReady for the for unlimited access for 2 months time. So if you haven't already been able to do that, go ahead and use that code to actually join the unlimited version that Steve was sharing earlier. And awesome, Claudia, thanks for sharing your contact information. Anyone who wants to connect with another Alaskan, please reach out to Claudia. I also am able to be reached at any time, and I will leave my contact information here as well if you have any questions. I will gather Steve's contact information with you to share with you as well after this session, so that if anybody has any questions of him, you're able to connect with him. But I'm super excited everyone joined us today. Thank you for your time. And Steve, thank you most of all for all of your time. BB Ready is not the password correction. BB Ready is a promotion code that can be used when you check out to make sure that you get 2 months free.
Thank you all. Appreciate it. It was good.